Hey everyone, today I'm diving deep into a review of my 2023, and I don't really want to hold anything back. I want to share what seems like makes sense, the successes, the setbacks, the moments of clarity, and the changes that I've made in my life and in my work. Things like adjusting my projects to my personal and spiritual growth, and even some new fitness practices that I've incorporated into my life. So, my hope is that by sharing my experiences, I might spark some inspiration or insight for your own journey. So, if you're ready, let's start with some of the biggest shifts that I've made this year. I want to first start out with some of the personal and professional developments that I experienced in 2023. So, at the very end of 2022, I decided to start seeing a counselor and really engaged in that throughout 2023. Early on, I was seeing the counselor as often as every 2 weeks. And as the year progressed, it kind of slowed down to about once a month. And then towards the end of 2023, it became more like once every month and a half or so. And I got to tell you, it was a tremendously helpful thing to participate in. Going into 2023, there were several things in my heart and mind that the best way I can really describe it was just felt like a tangled knot that I was unable to loosen. And through the guidance, the help, the wisdom, the insight of this counselor, and through engaging really in the work, I was able to untangle. There was two or three main things that I really wanted to work through, and man, it really made a significant shift in my life and how I was interacting with some key people in my life, including my wife and kids. That is something that I'm going to continue to engage in throughout 2024, but it will be a little bit less frequent than it was in 2023. The other thing that I started in 2023 was about halfway through the year, I started seeing a coach. There were some things that I wanted to develop towards, some ideas that I had, some skills that I wanted to develop, and this coach also has been just tremendously helpful. He's a older, wiser gentleman that I'm able to process with, and he's kind of been around the block, and he's an excellent coach. He knows how to draw out, he knows how to ask insightful questions, and he knows how to help me think through things to come to the conclusions myself rather than, telling me what to do. So that is something else that I plan to continue in 2024, probably more so than the counseling. And, it's been tremendous. Next, I'll dive into some of the practices related to my physical health that I picked up in 2023. I've always been a gym goer. For the past, 15 years of my life, I've pretty much gone to the gym at least 5 days out of the week, unless I'm sick or something like that. But, if you've ever had any type of habit like that in your life, you can get to points where it kind of, you just need a jump start. You need something to kickstart it. And early on in 2023, I had a friend reach out to me and ask me if I wanted to get into adventure racing. And if you're not familiar with adventure racing, the long story short is they are extended races. The shortest race might be 5-6 hours, and the longest, most extreme races can last several days. Last year, I participated in a 4-hour race, a 5-hour race, an 8-hour race, and a 12-hour race. And I got to tell you, it was just what I needed to kind of jumpstart some of my fitness goals. I was starting to carry some weight and didn't really like that. And, the cardiovascular aspect of adventure racing and some of the disciplines required, like kayaking and trekking and mountain biking, really helped get me into a place where I was getting cardiovascular and strengthening some of those muscles that I had allowed to kind of slip. Going into 2024, I don't plan to do as much adventure racing just because of the commitment that it takes. There's some other things that I want to focus on, that I feel like that will probably, if I were to commit to adventure racing, it would just take up a lot of my energy and time. But it was a tremendous help in 2023. Something else that I started on the tail end of 2023 was intermittent fasting. So again, at the end of October, I started intermittent fasting. I'd never tried it before, but like I mentioned, I was carrying a little bit more weight than I wanted to. And so Monday through Friday, I really cut out my carbs, and I primarily eat, just proteins and things that are high in fat. The weekends, I give myself a little more freedom in that area. But the real main key is that I keep my eating within a specific window of time. And so, typically if I start eating at 10 a.m., I want to be done at 6 p.m. Or if I start at 11 a.m., which is typical, I want to be done by 7 p.m. And, it's not been as hard as I thought. And it has helped me reach some of my weight loss goals since the end of October. It's currently, halfway through January. I started towards the end of October of 2023. And so far I've lost about 19 pounds and just feel really good. Another thing that I did was I started jump roping. I typically just lift weights, and jump roping has been a really easy way to incorporate some more cardiovascular things just in between my sets. So as I'm doing my sets, whether I'm doing a bench press or a deadlift or a leg press, just in between sets, I'll get in a quick 30-second, 1-minute jump rope. And it's been super effective at getting my heart rate up. And I think it's also contributed to just some of my goals pertaining to weight loss. So it's been great. And I do plan on continuing to practice intermittent fasting. And, I'm going to keep jump roping for now. We'll see what else develops down the road. In 2023, and if I really think about it, in 2022 as well, I did not read a single book. Now, there was a period of time in my life when I was really reading a lot of books. I'm a podcast junkie. I listen to a lot of podcasts, and that's really been my pattern for a long time. But even while listening to podcasts, typically I would still be reading. But over the past couple of years, I just couldn't connect with it. But so far in 2024, I've finished 2 books so far, and I'm about halfway through a third. So I'm off to a good start, and I kind of feel this energy to read reinvigorating in my life. The books that I've read so far, the first one was, what was Unlikely Nomads, written by Terry Walling. The book is really more about postures than models, which was really refreshing to me, and new ways to approach building and doing church than what we've traditionally done and known over the past 30, 50 years. So the other book I finished is called Get Together, and it's about everyday people who have created thriving communities, both either live and in person or online. And the book really provides some clear steps and some handles to help people know how to tackle the challenge of creating a community and bringing passionate people together. And then the book that I'm about halfway through is called Designing Your Life. And it's about how design thinking can help you create a life that is both meaningful and fulfilling, regardless of who or where you are, what you've done for a living, and how young or old you are. So super interesting reads. Next, I'll jump into some of my workflow. In 2023, I really decided to scale back the amount of projects that I was working on. I had 2 blogs and 2 YouTube channels. One blog, which they all still exist, was enneagramgift.com. I have another blog, dailychristianhelp.com, and then 2 YouTube channels, which this one, and then another one related to the Enneagram. And I really decided to kind of push pause on both blogs and the channel related to the Enneagram and primarily focus on, if I was going to create content, it was going to be on YouTube. You know, the Enneagram content is still out there. It's still super valuable, still super helpful. But I really feel like I kind of contributed all that I could in that space. And, I just wanted to be able to focus my effort and energies more on the type of content that I'm creating now. And so I really was feeling spread thin, and it's been helpful. I've gained clarity, and I've decided that the type of content that I want to create, while my knowledge and understanding of the Enneagram will certainly be incorporated into the content and resources that I create, it will not primarily be Enneagram driven, but it will inform some of the resources because I do believe it's a valuable tool. However, I'm not going to pour myself into those places. So this year, I'm going to continue to scale back on the different types of content channels that distract me from creating the type of content that I'm creating for this channel. Another thing that might be interesting is, in the past, a lot of the content that I've created would be search-based, meaning what types of keywords are people using to find specific answers to their problems. And while I still definitely want to create content that is valuable and solution-based and helps you solve the problems that you're needing help solving, I do want to take like a slightly different angle and approach to creating that content. And so some of my ideas related to this channel for this year are interview based. I want to have some conversations with some really interesting people around topics that I care about and that I also think you'll find interesting too. And then another idea that I have is to do a book club through this channel, to where maybe me and another individual will read the book in advance, or maybe even share in advance the book that we're going to read, so that those of you who watch this channel can read along. And then the book club will basically consist of me and the person that I invited to read the book with me, discussing and sharing our learnings and opportunities for application. I'd love to know if those ideas are interesting to you, and if so, please let me know in the comments. A couple other things that I'll share are just some new projects that I launched in 2023. I created a newsletter called Curating Good. If you are not subscribed yet, you can find the link to join that newsletter in the description. But this is really some of the best content that I'm creating, where I'm distilling some of the things that I'm thinking about and sharing some of the most helpful resources that I'm coming across. Whether it's a podcast, a web article, a YouTube video, a tweet, whatever it may be, some of the most valuable resources that I think are helpful, I'm sharing that stuff in that newsletter. And so if you want to join, you can join there. Something else, my wife and I kicked off a night of renewal, is what we're calling them, for marriage couples. My wife and I, we've been married for 22 years. We've had our fair share of ups and downs, bumps and bruises. And these night of renewals are really about us sharing our story, how we've walked through some pretty challenging things, and how there's hope and how things can get better. So we launched our first night of renewal in December of 2023, and we plan to do more of those in this year as well. They were super fun to be able to do that with my wife. And for the most part, most of these will be live and in person, but maybe we'll do some online as well. And so keep your eye out for that. And lastly, I've been kind of dropping hints in my newsletter about a community that I'm working to build for faith-based leaders, where together, we can collaborate, share ideas, and really flourish. And so that is another project that I plan on pouring myself into in this new year. Hey, thank you so much for listening, and thank you for watching. I sincerely hope that sharing my experiences and some of what I've learned helps spark ideas for you and adds value to your life. I'd love to hear your thoughts and takeaways, and you can share those in the comments. Did anything resonate particularly with you? Do you have your own lessons from 2023 that you're carrying in to this new year? Share them, and let's learn and grow together. And if you found this video helpful, please let me know in the comments or by liking it. It's really the only way that I know if it's connecting with you. Here's to a fantastic start to 2024.